Hey Mustangs, in this video we're going to be talking about some multiplication properties of exponents. Now in order to use multiplication properties, the base of each term that you're going to be working with must be the same. So again, in order to use these properties, the bases must be the same. So the first property we're going to look at is what do you do if you have two bases being multiplied together with different exponents. So again, notice here that my bases are the same. They are both a. All I'm going to do is add my exponents. So when I have a to the m times a to the n, that will be a to the m plus n power. So if we look at the example here, I have x to the 5th times x to the 9th. I first check, are my bases the same? Yes, they are both x's, so I can apply this property. All I'm going to do is say x to the 5 plus 9, and that gives me x to the 14th. Another way to think about this is to think about what it means when you're saying x to the 5th and x to the 9th. So what I really have here is I have x times x times x times x times x, which is my x to the 5th, and then I'm multiplying it times x to the 9th. So that's going to be x times x nine times. And then if we go through here and we count, we can say how many x's are we actually multiplying together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 x's. So we still come up with x to the 14th as our answer. The second multiplication property that we have is whenever you have an exponent raised to a power and then that whole term raised to another power. What you're going to do is you're going to think of this as the distributive property. You're going to take the power on the outside of the parentheses and multiply it times every power on the inside of the parentheses. So a to the m, all of that raised to the n power will be a to the m times n. So if I look at my example here, I have x to the 4th, and that's raised to the 3rd power. So use my distributive property, take that 3, multiply it by the 4 on the inside, and I get x to the 12th. Now just like what we did in the first example, I'm going to show you how this works out when you write it all out. So remember, x to the 4th raised to the 3rd power is just x to the 4th times x to the 4th times x to the 4th. So this is x times x times x times x, and then another 4 x's, and then another 4 x's. So how many total x's? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I still come up with x to the 12th power. You could actually also use the property from the first example. If you wrote it out, x to the 4th times x to the 4th times x to the 4th. Remember, if you're multiplying things together that have the same base, all you have to do is add up the exponents. So this is x to the 4 plus 4 plus 4, which still gives you x to the 12th. So there's actually 3 different ways there that I've just shown you that you can answer a question where you have a power raised to another power. The last example that we're going to look at is what do you do when you have multiple things being raised to a power. Remember that if you do not see an exponent attached to your variable or to your term, then it is understood to be a 1. So I am going to come in here and say that this is the same thing as a to the 1st power and b to the 1st power. Now I'm going to use the same property that we just talked about, and I'm going to take this m on the outside and multiply it by every exponent on the inside. So multiply it by the 1 that's attached to the b and multiply it by the 1 that's attached to the a. So I get a to the m times b to the m, and then I'm done. I don't do anything because a and b are not the same base, so I actually cannot combine them. So if we look at our example, I have xy raised to the 6th power. So again, when I don't see an exponent, it's understood to be 1, so I'm going to stick those 1s on my x and my y, and then take the 6 and distribute, which means multiply. So multiply it by the 1 that's attached to the y, multiply it by the 1 that's attached to the x, so I get x to the 6th, y to the 6th. And that's my answer. And again, you can write this out if you can't remember the property. So xy to the 6th power, that means we're taking x times y and we're multiplying it times itself 6 times. So that's xy times xy times xy times xy times xy times xy. And then I can go through and I can say, all right, how many x's did I multiply? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 x's being multiplied together, so that's x to the 6th. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 y's being multiplied together, so that's y to the 6th. So I still come up with my same answer even if I write it out. All right, that takes care of multiplication properties. Make sure you fill out the video summary below. Thank you.